The council chamber stretched out like a massive cathedral carved from living crystal. Hundreds of alien beings sat in curved rows, their forms ranging from insectoid creatures to floating clouds of intelligent gas. At the center podium stood Captain Daniel Harper, Earth's representative, wearing his crisp blue uniform with the planet Earth emblem on his shoulder. He had just finished his proposal about mining rights in the Kepler systems, 3-star systems that human scouts had discovered and mapped over the past 2 years. Systems that Earth had invested billions of credits to survey and prepare for resource extraction. The silence that followed his speech felt heavy and wrong. Then the laughter started. It began with a wet, gurgling sound from the methane-breathing delegates in the upper galleries. Within seconds, it spread through the chamber like wildfire. Clicks, whistles, chirps, and sounds that human ears couldn't even properly process all blended into a symphony of mockery. Ambassador Kelverax of the Vorathian Empire rose from his seat. The reptilian alien stood nearly 8 feet tall, his scales glinting like polished emeralds under the chamber lights. His yellow eyes fixed on Daniel with something that looked disturbingly like amusement. "The human speaks of rights," Kelverax said, his translator rendering his hissing speech into perfect English. "How charming. How absolutely primitive." He paused, looking around at the other delegates. "Shall we remind this child species of their place?" More laughter. Daniel felt Commander Lisa Morgan tense beside him. Her hand moved slightly toward her sidearm before Daniel gave her a subtle shake of his head. "Not here. Not now," Kelverax continued, warming to his subject. "Earth has been part of this council for 12 years. 12 years. Some of us have civilizations that span 12,000 years. And in that time, what has humanity contributed? Nothing but demands and complaints. You discovered 3 systems? We have discovered thousands. You want mining rights? You should be grateful we allow you to mine anything at all." A crystalline being that looked like a walking diamond chimed in, its voice like bells. "The Vorathian speaks truth. Humanity lacks the wisdom to manage such resources. Perhaps Earth should focus on learning from its betters before making demands." Daniel gripped the podium, his knuckles turning white. He opened his mouth to respond, but Kelverax cut him off. "In fact, I propose a motion." The Vorathian's smile showed far too many teeth. Earth should be redesignated as a protectorate species. They clearly need guidance, adult supervision, as the humans might say. The chamber erupted in discussion. Daniel felt his heart pounding in his chest. A protectorate species. That meant Earth would lose its voting rights. Humanity would be subject to council oversight in all matters. They would become children in the eyes of the galaxy, forever dependent on alien approval for every decision. "I second the motion," the crystalline being announced. "This is outrageous," Lisa whispered harshly. We should remain calm." Daniel interrupted quietly, though every instinct screamed at him to act, to fight, to make these smug aliens understand that humanity was not weak. But he was one man in a room of hundreds. Earth had 12 ships capable of faster-than-light travel. The Vorathian Empire alone had thousands. This wasn't a fight humanity could win. Not here. Not now. The vote came swiftly. 46 species voted to strip Earth of the mining rights. Only humanity voted against it. The protectorate motion was tabled for a future session. But the message was clear. Earth existed at the pleasure of its betters. Kelverax approached Daniel as the session ended. The massive reptilian looked down at him with barely concealed contempt. "You should thank us, human. We could have voted you off the council entirely. Be grateful for our mercy." Daniel met his gaze without flinching. "I'll be sure to pass along your kindness to my government. Do that, and tell them to remember their place. The universe is vast, and humanity is very, very small." As the Vorathian walked away, Daniel pulled out his encrypted communicator. He typed a single word: "Scorned." Lisa waited until they were in their private transport before speaking. "We can't let them treat us like this. We have to respond." We will, Daniel said quietly. He looked out the viewport at the swirling colors of the nebula, beyond the station. But not how they expect. Back on Earth, in the underground command center beneath Geneva, President Claire Bennett read Daniel's message. She sat in silence for a long moment, then looked up at the military advisors and scientists gathered around her. How long until Project Ghost is operational? She asked. General Marcus Webb pulled up a holographic display. The first wave of ships can launch in 72 hours, Madam President. The weapons systems are fully integrated. The new drives are tested and ready. And the colony evacuations? We can have all non-essential personnel pulled back to core systems within a week, Admiral Gregory Stone reported. It'll look like we're consolidating due to the Council's decision. Good. President Bennett stood, her expression hard. Recall all diplomats. End all treaties. Terminate every trade agreement. I want every human out of alien space within 5 days. Madam President, Dr. Angela Ross spoke up, her voice uncertain. If we do this, we're cutting ourselves off from the galaxy. They'll see it as surrender. Bennett smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Let them believe we're running scared. While they celebrate, we prepare. The Council wanted to see humanity kneel. Instead, we're going to show them what happens when you push humans too far. She turned to face the display showing the Galactic Council chamber. They scorned Earth today. They're about to learn that scorn has consequences. Tell our people to come home. Tell our shipyards to go to full production. And tell our scientists to unleash everything we've been hiding. General Webb grinned. Finally, what are our rules of engagement? Simple. Bennett said. Any alien military vessel that enters human space after the deadline is an enemy combatant. Any species that threatens our colonies will face immediate retaliation. We tried peace. We tried cooperation. We tried to be good neighbors. They laughed at us. Now they'll learn to fear us. Ender. 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 She looked around the room at the determined faces of Earth's leadership. Humanity has been preparing for this day since we first reached the stars. We knew that eventually, someone would test us. Well, the test has come, and we're going to pass it in ways they can't imagine. Send the order, she commanded. Operation Ghost Protocol is now active. Humanity is going dark. Commander Jake Sullivan watched the sensor displays with growing unease. His ship, the Pathfinder, was the most advanced reconnaissance vessel in Earth's fleet. Right now, those sensors were telling him something that made his stomach twist into knots. 6 Vorathian battle groups moving toward the Arcturus colony, his tactical officer reported. 3 Crystallix cruiser squadrons heading for New Haven. And the Zenthari Collective has positioned ships near all 3 of our major trade stations. Jake leaned back in his command chair. They're coordinating. The Council humiliation was just the opening move. Sir, we're receiving priority orders from Earth Command, his communications officer announced. All human vessels are to return to core systems immediately. All colonies are being evacuated. Authorization code Delta 7 Black. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Delta 7 Black. That was the highest level emergency code. It meant Earth expected war. And soon. Set course for home, he ordered. Maximum speed. And make sure we're not followed. Across human space, the same scene played out hundreds of times. Ships vanished from their patrol routes. Colonies went silent. Their communications arrays shut down. Trade stations that had served aliens and humans alike for years suddenly stood empty, their doors sealed, their computers wiped clean. On the Council station Apex Prime, Ambassador Kelverax watched the reports with satisfaction. The humans were running. Just as he expected. Weak, frightened primitives scurrying back to their little blue planet. Contact our fleet commanders, he told his aide. Inform them that human space is now open for claiming. The Council will raise no objections. After all, a protectorate species cannot own territory. Sinceness, R4. We can't CV, R4. His aide hesitated. Sir, the Council hasn't formally voted on the protectorate status yet. Kelverax waved a clawed hand dismissively. A mere formality. The humans know they're beaten. They're abandoning their colonies before we even have to fire a shot. By the time the Council meets again, we'll have already occupied their systems. The vote will simply acknowledge reality. But on Earth, reality was taking a very different shape. In the vast shipyards orbiting Luna, thousands of workers moved with purposeful urgency. Ships that had been hidden in maintenance bays for years were being rolled out, their hulls gleaming with fresh paint and new armor plating. These weren't the merchant vessels and light cruisers that aliens had seen humanity use. These were warships, built in secret, designed with one purpose in mind. General Marcus Webb stood in the command center watching the feeds from a dozen construction facilities. Status report. First Fleet is at 80% combat readiness, an aide reported. Second Fleet launches in 48 hours. Third Fleet is still fitting weapon systems, but Admiral Grant says they'll be ready within the week. And the Ghost Drive ships? All operational, sir. They've run successful tests. The aliens can't detect them. As far as their sensors are concerned, our ships simply don't exist. Webb allowed himself a small smile. Excellent. What about the civilian evacuations? 90% complete. We're pulling everyone back to the 12 core colonies. Those systems are now fortified, with enough firepower to hold off anything the Council can throw at us. President Bennett entered the command center, followed by Dr. Angela Ross and several other civilian advisors. She looked tired, but determined. The last of our diplomats just cleared alien space, she announced. As of 10 minutes ago, Earth has withdrawn from all Galactic Council treaties. We are officially alone. The room fell silent. For 12 years, humanity had worked to build relationships with alien species. They had traded, negotiated, compromised, and tried to be good members of the galactic community. Now, all of that was gone. How are the other species reacting? Webb asked. Dr. Ross pulled up a holographic display showing intercepts of alien communications. Celebration, mostly. The Vorathians think we're surrendering. The Crystalics are already dividing up our territory. Most species believe we're retreating because we're afraid. Good, Bennett said. Fear is the last thing I want them to feel right now. Let them be confident. Let them be careless. She turned to address the room. People, humanity has spent 12 years smiling and nodding while aliens treated us like children. We've been patient. We've been careful. And the whole time, we've been preparing. Every insult we endured, every dismissal, every time they looked down on us, we were learning, studying, building. She gestured to the displays, showing Earth's hidden military might. We let them think we were weak, because weak enemies aren't worth watching carefully. We let them believe we were primitive, because primitives don't pose threats. And while they weren't watching, while they weren't worried, we became the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Admiral Gregory Stone stepped forward. Our intelligence suggests the Vorathians will move on Arcturus within 72 hours. They're sending a moderate force, because they expect no resistance. Then let's give them a surprise, Bennett said. General Webb, deploy the Third Fleet to Arcturus. Make sure they're fully cloaked until the moment of engagement. What about rules of engagement, Madam President? Bennett's expression hardened. Any alien military vessel in human space after we've withdrawn our diplomats is there for one reason only. Conquest. Treat them accordingly. No warnings. No negotiations. Just make sure they understand that invading human territory is the last mistake they'll ever make. Across the solar system, activity intensified. The massive construction project near the sun, something the aliens had dismissed as primitive solar research, revealed its true nature. Project Helios was a weapon, the largest ever built by any species. It could channel stellar energy across vast distances, turning the sun itself into humanity's defender. In secret bases on Mars and the moons of Jupiter, thousands of automated drones came online. Each one was equipped with the latest human technology, controlled by artificial intelligence that could make decisions faster than any biological mind. And in the asteroid belt, construction crews put the finishing touches on the largest minefield ever created. Tens of thousands of mines, each one invisible to standard sensors, each one powerful enough to cripple a warship. Commander Sullivan brought the Pathfinder back to Earth and immediately joined a briefing with naval intelligence. What he reported made even the veteran officers sit up in alarm. "They're coming in force," he said. "Not just the Vorathians. At least 6 species have formed a secret alliance. They plan to carve up human space between them. They think we'll either surrender immediately or be crushed in a matter of days." 6 species, Bennett repeated. "How many ships total?" "Rough estimate? At least 2,000 combat vessels. Maybe more." The room erupted in worried conversation. 2,000 ships against humanity's 3 fleets of less than 700 vessels. The numbers were terrifying, but General Webb was smiling. "Let them come. Let them all come. They're thinking in terms of old warfare. Ship counts, firepower, territory. They don't understand what they're facing." He pulled up a hologram showing human tactical doctrine. "We don't fight like them. We don't line up ships and trade fire until someone breaks. We strike from hiding. We use weapons they can't defend against. We make them afraid of every shadow." President Bennett nodded slowly. "How long until they realize what's happening?" "By the time they figure it out," Webb said, "it'll be far too late. Earth isn't running. And when the moment comes, we're going to teach the galaxy a lesson it won't forget. You don't scorn humanity and live to celebrate it." The Vorathian task force dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Arcturus system with all the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. 8 warships, each one larger and more heavily armed than anything humanity had ever fielded publicly. Their commander, Fleet Admiral Zarthax, studied his sensor displays with satisfaction. "The human colony is directly ahead," his tactical officer reported. "No defensive installations detected. No military vessels in the area. They've abandoned it completely." Zarthax nodded. Typical human cowardice. They talked big but ran at the first sign of real conflict. "Take us in. We'll claim this system for the Vorathian Empire and move on to the next. At this rate, we'll control half of human space before the week is out." His ships moved forward in standard formation, their shields raised but their weapons still powered down. No need to waste energy when there was no opposition. That was when everything went wrong. The first warship exploded without warning. One moment it was advancing proudly. The next it was an expanding cloud of debris and atmosphere. Alarms screamed across the remaining 7 vessels. "Report!" Zarthax roared. "What hit us?" "Unknown, sir." Sensors detected nothing. No energy signatures, no incoming fire. Nothing. A second ship died, its hull torn apart by impacts that came from nowhere. Then a third. All ships. Evasive maneuvers. "Return fire at..." Zarthax paused. "Return fire at what?" His sensors showed nothing but empty space and the explosions of his own dying ships. Then, for just a fraction of a second, his sensors caught something. A ship. Human design. But it was there and gone so fast, he almost thought he imagined it. "Did you see that?" he demanded. "Negative, sir." Sensors show no contacts. A 4th ship exploded, then a 5th. Zarthax watched in horror as his fleet died around him. Killed by an enemy he couldn't see, couldn't track, couldn't fight. "Emergency jump! Get us out of here!" But before his ship could activate its faster-than-light drive, something struck the engine core. The last thing Zarthax saw was the blinding flash of his own reactor going critical. 11 minutes after entering the Arcturus system, all 8 Vorthian warships were destroyed. Total human casualties: 0. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Reaper and watched the debris field that had been an enemy fleet. His ship's ghost drive was functioning perfectly. The Vorathians never even knew what killed them. "Send a message burst to Earth Command," he ordered. "Arcturus system secure. Enemy force eliminated. No survivors." His tactical officer looked up from her console. "Sir, we're detecting multiple alien fleets moving toward other human systems. Looks like the Vorathians weren't alone." "Good," Ryan said quietly. "Let them come. We need to send a message, and you can't send a message with just one dead fleet." Back on Earth, in a secure laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Henry Liu gave a presentation to the global military leadership. On the holographic displays behind him, the battle at Arcturus played out in perfect detail. "As you can see," he explained, "the ghost drive works exactly as designed. It doesn't just hide our ships from sensors, it bends space around the vessel, making it effectively invisible to all known forms of detection. The aliens think we're using simple stealth technology. They don't understand that we've fundamentally changed the nature of space combat." President Bennett studied the footage with interest. "What about the weapons?" "Those weren't standard missiles. Kinetic lances, Madam President. We accelerate microscopic particles to near light speed, using magnetic fields. They hit with the force of nuclear weapons, but leave no radiation signature. The aliens can't defend against them because their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. These slip right through." And Admiral Sophie Grant, commander of the Third Fleet, asked the critical question. "How many ships do we have equipped with this technology?" "All of them," Dr. Liu said. "Every vessel in our 3 fleets has the ghost drive and kinetic lances as standard equipment. We also have the neural command networks that let our crews coordinate and react faster than any biological crew should be able to. And we have fusion warheads for when we want to send a really clear message." General Webb pulled up a tactical map showing alien fleet movements. "We have 6 species moving against us simultaneously. The Vorathians just learned what happens when you invade human space. Time to teach the lesson to everyone else." Over the next 72 hours, the lesson was delivered with brutal efficiency. The Crystallix Collective sent 12 ships to claim the New Haven colony. They found the colony apparently abandoned and moved in to take possession. The moment they entered orbit, the entire asteroid field around the planet came alive. Thousands of automated drones, each one barely larger than a person, swarmed the Crystallix vessels. The aliens tried to fight back, but there were too many targets, moving too fast, attacking from too many directions at once. All 12 ships were destroyed in 18 minutes. The Zenthari Collective, insectoid creatures who operated through hive minds, thought their coordination would give them an advantage. They sent 20 ships against the human colony on Kepler Prime. Admiral Grant's Third Fleet met them in open space. The Zenthari, seeing only 7 human vessels against their 20, pressed the attack. Then the human ships vanished from sensors, and the slaughter began. The Zenthari tried everything, flooding space with every sensor type they had, firing blindly in all directions. Nothing worked. One by one, their ships died. The few survivors fled in panic, broadcasting warnings about ghost ships that killed without being seen. The other species, seeing the carnage, hesitated. Could humanity really have become this dangerous? Had they been hiding this level of technology all along? Ambassador Kelvarax refused to believe it. In an emergency council session, he stood before the assembled aliens and declared that the reports were exaggerated. "The humans got lucky," he insisted. "They caught our forces by surprise with some clever tricks. But tricks only work once. We need to show them real power. I'm calling for the formation of a grand armada. Let every species contribute ships. Together, we'll crush humanity once and for all." Many species were reluctant. They'd seen what happened to the Vorathians and Crystalics. But fear of Kelvarax and his political influence won out. Within a week, plans were made. 800 warships from 20 different species would gather and strike at Earth itself. While the aliens prepared their massive fleet, Captain Daniel Harper sat in President Bennett's office. He had returned from his humiliation at the council. And now, he watched with grim satisfaction as reports came in of alien fleets being destroyed. "They still don't understand," he said. "They think this is about superior technology. They think if they just bring enough ships, they can win." Bennett nodded. "What they don't understand is that we didn't just develop new weapons. We changed our entire approach to warfare. Every human ship is commanded by people who grew up studying military history. We learned from every conflict Earth ever fought. We know how to adapt, how to improvise, how to win against larger forces. The Grand Armada will come to Earth," Harper said. "Kelvarax won't accept defeat until he sees our homeworld." "I know. General Webb is already preparing. When they arrive, they're going to learn what happens when you back humans into a corner. The Council scorned us. They treated us like children. They thought we were weak." She smiled. But it was the smile of a predator. "They're about to discover that the most dangerous thing in the universe is a human you've underestimated." The Grand Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system like an approaching storm. 800 warships from 20 different species, arrayed in formations that stretched across millions of kilometers of space. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, and its target was a single planet. On the bridge of the flagship, a massive Crystalix dreadnought, Hive Mind Construct 7, surveyed the scanner displays. The crystalline being's thoughts were shared instantly among all Crystalix vessels, giving them coordination that individual species could never match. "Detect human defenses," it commanded through its mental network. The tactical officer, another Crystalix, responded immediately. "Long-range sensors show minimal activity. Earth orbital stations are active, but weapon systems appear to be offline. No capital ships detected in the inner system. The humans are unprepared." Ambassador Kelvarax, present aboard the flagship as the Council's official observer, clicked his jaws in satisfaction. They were arrogant enough to fight when alone. Now they see true power and hide like prey animals. The Grand Armada began its advance, confident and unstoppable. They made it exactly as far as the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The first indication something was wrong came when 3 Vorathian cruisers simply vanished. Not destroyed in explosions, just gone. Sensors showed they were there one moment. Then, space folded in on itself, and the ships ceased to exist. "What was that?" Kelvarax demanded. Before anyone could answer, the space around the Armada erupted in fire. Thousands upon thousands of mines, each one invisible to sensors, until it detonated, activated simultaneously. The carefully ordered formations dissolved into chaos as ships tried desperately to avoid the blasts. "Evasive maneuvers. Construct," 7 commanded across the mental network. "All ships scatter, and M." The order was cut off as something struck the flagship's shields. Not missiles, not energy beams. Solid objects, moving at impossible speeds, punching through shields that should have stopped anything. The Crystalix dreadnought shuddered under the impacts. Then the drones came, from hidden bases on Jupiter's moons, from the asteroid belt itself, from every direction at once. Tens of thousands of automated fighters swarmed into battle. Each one was small, fast, and controlled by artificial intelligence that could process tactics faster than any biological brain. They moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually precisely calculated to maximize damage and confusion. Lieutenant Amy Brooks sat in the cockpit of her experimental fighter, leading her squadron through the chaos. Her helmet's display showed hundreds of targets, and the neural interface linked her mind directly to the ship's weapons systems. "Alpha Squadron, focus on the Crystalix cruisers," she commanded. "Target their resonance points." Her people knew what to do. The weapons they carried had been designed specifically for this enemy. Dr. Liu's team had discovered that crystallics biology relied on specific harmonic frequencies to maintain cohesion. Disrupt those frequencies, and the aliens literally fell apart. Amy locked onto a crystallix destroyer and fired. The weapon sent a pulse of sound through space, carried by plasma fields. The destroyer's hull began to vibrate, then crack, then shatter. The crew inside fragmented into millions of pieces of broken crystal. "That's for New Haven," Amy whispered. The battle spread across the solar system. The Grand Armada had numbers, but they were fighting a kind of war they'd never experienced. Human ships appeared without warning, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before return fire could be coordinated. The automated drones were everywhere, forcing alien crews to waste ammunition shooting at targets that cost nothing to replace. And then Admiral Gregory Stone activated Project Helios. The massive structure near the sun had taken 5 years to build. It was a ring of collectors, each one the size of a city, positioned to channel solar energy into a single focused beam. The aliens had known about it. They'd seen the construction. Their scientists had dismissed it as a pathetic attempt to harness stellar power for energy generation. They were wrong. The beam, when it fired, was visible across the entire solar system. A lance of pure, stellar fury that crossed millions of kilometers in seconds. It struck the Crystallix flagship dead center. The dreadnought, massive enough to carry 10,000 crew members, simply ceased to exist. The beam continued through it and caught 200 support vessels behind it. All of them vaporized instantly. The mental network that connected all Crystallix forces went silent as Hive Mind Construct 7 died. Without their coordinating intelligence, the Crystallix ships began firing randomly, sometimes hitting each other in their confusion. Kelvarax watched from his observation vessel in horror. This wasn't a battle. It was an execution. The humans had turned their entire star system into one massive weapon. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space debris had been converted into something deadly. "Retreat!" he broadcast across all channels. All ships retreat immediately. But retreating from the solar system was harder than entering it. The human forces had planned for this. As alien ships tried to flee, they found their escape routes blocked by cloaked vessels that appeared just long enough to fire, then vanished again. The automated drones harassed them at every turn. More mines detonated along what should have been safe routes. The Grand Armada, which had entered the solar system with 800 ships, limped away with fewer than 200. 600 alien warships destroyed. Thousands of crew members dead. The greatest military force ever assembled had been shattered by a species the Galactic Council had scorned as primitives. Admiral Stone stood in Earth's command center, watching the survivors flee. Around him, his staff were cheering, celebrating the impossible victory. But Stone wasn't smiling. "Get me casualty reports," he ordered. "Sir, we lost 43 ships. Casualties are estimated at around 1,200 personnel. Several automated defense platforms were destroyed, but those had no crew. 43 ships against 600. 1,200 humans dead versus tens of thousands of aliens." The numbers were almost unbelievable. President Bennett entered the command center, and the room fell silent. She looked exhausted, but unbowed. "Send a message," she said quietly. "Broadcast it on every channel, every frequency. Make sure every species in the galaxy hears it." Stone nodded and opened the communications network. Captain Daniel Harper appeared on screens across the galaxy. He stood in his uniform, the ruins of alien ships visible in the window behind him, and spoke in a calm, clear voice. "This is Captain Daniel Harper of Earth. I'm the man," Ambassador Kelvarax mocked at the council. "The man he called primitive. The man representing the species you all scorned." He paused, letting that sink in. "You came to our home with the largest fleet in galactic history. You came to conquer us, to teach us our place, to show us that humanity should be grateful for whatever scraps you chose to give us." His expression hardened. "You just learned what angry humans can do. We destroyed 600 of your best warships. We shattered your Grand Armada. And we did it while losing only 43 vessels. That's not luck. That's not accident. That's the result of what happens when you push humanity too far. He leaned forward, his eyes blazing with controlled fury. Earth remembers every insult, every dismissal, every act of contempt. We were never weak. We were patient. That patience has ended. Any species that wants peace with humanity can have it. But it will be peace on our terms. Any species that wants war will get more war than they can handle. He stood straight, his voice carrying across the stars. The age of the Galactic Council looking down on Earth is over. The next time we meet, you will treat humanity with respect. Not because we ask for it, because we've earned it in blood and fire. This is our galaxy too, and we will not be scorned again. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, in council chambers and throne rooms and hive ships, alien leaders watched in stunned silence. The humans had been underestimated. That mistake would not be made again. 3 weeks after the Battle of Saul, Earth received a message that made even President Bennett pause. The eldest were coming. Nobody knew much about the eldest. They had founded the Galactic Council 10,000 years ago, established the rules that governed interstellar civilization, and then simply vanished. Most species thought they were extinct. Others believed they were myths. But the message was clear and verified by every encryption method known. The eldest were real. They were returning, and they wanted to meet with humanity. Could be a trap, General Marcus Webb said, studying the message. The Council might be trying to trick us. Dr. Angela Ross shook her head. The authentication codes are genuine. These are either the real eldest or someone with access to technology that makes ours look primitive. President Bennett made her decision. We meet them, but on our terms. Neutral space, armed escort, and we make it clear that if this is a trick, there will be consequences. The meeting location was established at the midpoint between Earth and the old council station. A week later, President Bennett's flagship arrived with a full battle group. They weren't taking chances. Under point mark, the eldest vessel appeared without warning. One moment there was empty space. The next, there was a ship. Not a warship, but something else entirely. It looked organic, as if it had been grown rather than built. And it was massive, dwarfing even the Crystallix dreadnoughts. A single figure transported across to Bennett's flagship. It appeared human, but something about it was subtly wrong. Too perfect, too still. As if it was wearing humanity like a costume. I am Zenith, it said, its voice perfectly calm. I speak for the eldest. We have watched humanity's recent actions with great interest. Bennett faced it without fear. Have you come to threaten us? Because we've had enough of threats from ancient civilizations, Zenith smiled. And the expression seemed genuine. No threats, President Bennett. Quite the opposite. We have come to offer congratulations. The room fell silent. That was not what anyone expected. The Galactic Council was an experiment, Zenith explained. 10,000 years ago, we founded it to create peace among the stars. We succeeded too well. The species in the Council became comfortable, safe, weak. They forgot that civilization requires struggle to grow. They became arrogant, complacent, and stagnant. Zenith walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. We have been waiting, watching, hoping that one day a species would emerge that could shake the Council from its complacency. A species that combined intelligence, adaptability, and the will to fight when necessary. We thought it might never happen. The galaxy might simply coast forever, unchanging and dying slowly from comfort. It turned back to face Bennett. Then, humanity arrived. Young, aggressive, innovative. The Council dismissed you, mocked you, tried to break you, and instead of accepting your place, you broke them. Captain Daniel Harper, present as Earth's chief diplomatic advisor, spoke up. You're saying the humiliation at the Council was a test? That you wanted the aliens to push us? Not directly. We didn't control their actions. But we knew that if humanity was what we hoped, you would face contempt eventually. How you responded would determine your true nature. You could have surrendered. You could have accepted being a minor species. Instead, you proved that humanity is exactly what the galaxy needs. President Bennett crossed her arms. And what exactly do you think the galaxy needs? A wake-up call, Zenith said simply. The council species needed to learn that power comes with responsibility, that treating others with contempt has consequences. You taught them that lesson in the most effective way possible. Now they'll rebuild, but they'll do it better, humbler, wiser. General Webb couldn't stay quiet. You let them attack us. You watched while we had to fight for our survival. Yes, Zenith agreed without apology. Because fighting for survival makes you stronger. Being handed everything makes you weak. The council forgot that. Humanity never did. That's why you won. Zenith pulled up a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. The council is in chaos. Several species are demanding Kelvarax's resignation. Others are offering humanity reparations. The Vorathian Empire is in civil war because their military failed so spectacularly. The entire political structure is collapsing. Good, Bennett said coldly. They earned it. We agree. Now comes the important part. The galaxy needs a new order. The old council is dead, whether they know it yet or not. We offer humanity a choice. First option, you can work with us, the eldest. We would share our technology, our knowledge. Together, we would guide the younger species toward a better future. And the second option? Bennett asked. You continue alone. We give you our blessing, our respect, but no direct assistance. You forge your own path. Without our interference. President Bennett looked at her advisors. She could see the temptation in their eyes. The eldest were offering power beyond imagination. Technology that could make humanity gods among the stars. But she thought about the journey that had brought them here. 12 years of being dismissed and insulted. Years of patience and preparation. The moment when they finally stood up and showed the galaxy what humans could do. Neither option, she said finally. Zenith raised an eyebrow. Explain. We'll work with you, but not for you. Earth will help reform the council, but we'll do it our way. We don't need you to guide the younger species. We need you to support a system where every species, young or old, is treated with respect. Where power doesn't give you the right to humiliate others. She stepped closer to Zenith. The council scorned us because they could. Because there were no consequences for cruelty. That ends now. We'll build a new council. One with real accountability. Species that abuse their power will face sanctions. Bullies will be stopped. And if you eldest disagree with how we do things, you can stay in your hidden places and watch. But you won't control us. Zenith studied her for a long moment, then smiled again. This time, it seemed proud. Exactly the answer we hoped for. Humanity doesn't need masters or teachers. You need partners and equals. Very well. We accept your terms. The eldest will support Earth's reformation of the Council, but we will not lead it. That responsibility is yours. Over the following months, the new Galactic Council took shape. Ambassador Kelvarax was stripped of his position and exiled. The Vorathian Empire lost its council seat entirely, relegated to protectorate status until they could prove they had learned humility. Several other aggressive species faced similar sanctions, but Earth didn't seek revenge. Instead, Captain Daniel Harper proposed a new system of government. Every species, regardless of age or power, would have equal voting rights. Disputes would be resolved through arbitration, not threats. Military action against another council member would result in immediate expulsion and sanctions. Some species protested. They had enjoyed their privileged positions, but they had also seen what happened when you pushed humanity too far. And none of them wanted to face Earth's military again. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the new Galactic Council held its first official session. The chamber looked different now. Instead of the old amphitheater design where elder species sat in positions of honor, the new chamber was a circle. Every species equal. Every voice heard. Captain Daniel Harper stood at the podium to open the session. The same podium where he had been humiliated. But now the aliens watching him did so with respect, or at least caution. "Welcome to the Reformed Galactic Council," he said. "This is a new beginning for all of us. The old system was built on hierarchy and fear. Species competed to prove their superiority, and the weak suffered for it. That system died when the Grand Armada fell." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various alien representatives. "Earth didn't destroy the old council out of spite. We did it because we had no choice. You backed us into a corner, and humans don't surrender when cornered. We fight, and we win." Several aliens shifted uncomfortably. The memory of humanity's victory was still fresh. "But fighting isn't the goal," Harper continued. "Peace is the goal. Cooperation is the goal. A galaxy where every species can thrive without fear of being scorned or conquered. That's what we're building here. Not through strength alone, but through justice." He paused, then added quietly, "The old council looked down on Earth. They called us primitive, told us to be grateful for scraps. They learned the cost of that arrogance. Now we move forward together. As equals. As partners. And if anyone forgets the lessons of the past, if anyone returns to the old ways of contempt and cruelty, they'll face consequences. Not from humanity alone, but from all of us." The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, species began to signal their agreement. Not all of them. Not yet. But enough. The new order was beginning. After the session, President Bennett met with Captain Ryan Mitchell, now promoted to Admiral and given command of Earth's expanding fleet. He had become a hero. The man who destroyed the first alien fleet at Arcturus. "How does it feel?" she asked. "Being the face of humanity's military might?" Replic. Ryan shrugged. "Strange. I didn't join the military to become famous. I did it because someone needed to protect Earth when the politicians couldn't. And now the politicians are in charge again," Bennett said with a slight smile. "Does that bother you?" "No. No, ma'am. War is what you do when diplomacy fails. We had to fight because the old council wouldn't listen. Now, they're listening. That means we succeeded. With luck, future generations won't need to fight like we did." "Maybe," Bennett agreed. "But they'll need to remember that peace has a price. The old council forgot that. They thought their power made them invulnerable. We taught them otherwise." She looked out at the stars visible through the station viewport. "Earth sought peace for 12 years. We were patient, humble. We tried to be good neighbors. They scorned us for it. So we showed them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness." Ryan nodded. "And now? Now we make sure it never happens again, to us or anyone else. That's humanity's role in the galaxy now. Not conquerors, not rulers, but guardians. We'll make sure that no species ever has to endure what we did." She turned back to him. "The Council scorned Earth. They're going to spend the next century regretting it. And in that time, we're going to build something better. A galaxy where respect is earned through cooperation, not fear. Where power doesn't give you the right to hurt others." Admiral Ryan Mitchell saluted. "Yes, ma'am. And if anyone threatens that vision," President Bennett's expression hardened, "then we remind them why you don't scorn humanity. The lesson is taught. Now we see if they learned it. The galaxy had entered a new age. an age where Earth wrote the rules.